So it's been a while for a vlog post, so I figured it's time. I'm gonna clean up my home office here. There's also the ham shack, so it's it's in need. We're gonna do that. Maybe I will give you a tour at the end. So stay tuned. So this is the third time trying to record this. First time there was audio problems, getting some kind of digital noise where I had the camera placed. Second time the battery died. Oh God, I tell you, it's one thing after another. It's been a rough weekend, I guess. Anyway, you saw cleaning the shack up. So I thought, since I got it cleaned up and it's looking good, why don't I give you a little tour? So we got the Icom 7600. Had that for a couple of years. Before that I had a 756 Pro, the Pro 1, as a lot of people call it, the first generation with the color screen. Great radio. I had that thing probably 15, 18 years. And then recently, a couple of years ago, a bunch of us started trading around, selling stuff, and ended up with 7600. So there's some of the guys I talked to end up there's about 3 or 4 of them now. So good radios. I've become an Icom fan. Before that, I had a Kenwood 940. The great thing about the Icom, well, there's many great things, but the newer rigs in general are the USB port that gives you control, and the audio codec on one cable, so there's not all these whole bunch of interface boxes and things of that nature you have to deal with. So to get on the digital modes and do the remote control and all that, it's real easy to do. One USB cable in a computer, boom, you're done. So that makes it very handy, very clean install. Don't have to worry about those damn DIN connectors and plugs and getting all that stuff, and all those conductors and that one little boot. So it comes out of that, goes into a Alpha 76PA. I did the conversion on that to the 3C, a pair of 3 CX800s. And while I was in there, I did I took the incandescent indicators out and replaced those with LEDs, and had to build a little power supply for that. But actually, I didn't have to build a power supply. I just had to pad the voltage down a little bit. And so I went with blue and white, give it a little newer color. And at the same time, I was replacing the front plate. Mine was the one that had the paint that never cured, so it would just kind of run and started to look real nasty. But Alpha still had some front panels, so I got that, changed that out. Thing looks brand new now, and especially with the LEDs, it's blue on transmit and the warm-up period, and white on standby. So the only thing I need to do next time I go in there is probably take the voltage down a little bit more on those, because they're a little bright. Love that amp, always works. And Alpha makes real good stuff. Now the next amp I buy probably is not going to be a tube amp. It's going to be solid state. I think we're there with the LD MOS technology. And the price point is really the way to go. They work into a ton of different loads and no problems at all. They all have built-in tuners, so if you're going to spend the money on a no-tune tube amp, I think you're better off going the solid state route. It's just the way to go, and that's the way it's going to be in the future. The price of tubes, even if you find a good deal on a used amp, it's going to be, you have to replace the tubes. It's going to cost more probably than the amp's worth. So from there, it goes into the Ameritron remote coax switch, the 5-port, and then into the legal limit MFJ auto tuner, which is both of those pieces are mounted at the base of the tower, and the voltage is fed for the tuner with the power injector through the coax. And that works really well. Probably need to mount that little box a little better, or remote the power switch. Before I had that auto tuner, I had Meritron, was it the ATR 30 or 3000 or something like that. I think it was a 3000 watt or 2000 watt tuner. But I got the auto tuner, which is real nice. It gives me a lot more room on the desk and really cleans up everything in here. One less big box to deal with, so that's very nice. It works really well. That's a good box that they did, even for MFJ. Hats off to them for that, for making that a good product. Then it goes up the tower. It's a Rohn 45, up 60. I think the total height on the tower is 61 feet. There's a half section in the ground and 5 yards of concrete. There's about a foot sticking out from that, and then 6 more sticks. So up 61 feet at the top of the tower, Rohn 45, and it's a Mosley PRO-67b. When I bought that new at the end of 2013, right after Christmas, I think, or right before New Year's, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I think the price has gone up considerably now since the tariffs, but I wanted really just to put one antenna on the tower to cover all the bands, and that covers everything set for like 80, 160, and 30, 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, and 40. And you got some directivity on all of those. It's been a fantastic antenna, easy to put together. It's a hoss, it's big. The longest element is like 40 some odd feet long because it's 40 meters on it. You know, if you got the room and you're going to buy one multi-band Yagi, it's hard to go wrong with that. Now, I could have gone with the stepper. The only thing I don't like about the stepper is active parts being where they are not easily accessible. And 60 feet in the air, I ain't going to climb it. So, you know, that puts a little wrench in it. So I went with the Mosley. I'm very happy with it. It's held up a couple of different tropical storms so far. And the Towers guide, one set of guides that I used Philistrand for the entire thing, which I think I actually got all that from DX Engineering. That came in, I did all that. Had to aug, I got some 6-inch diameter steel posts. They're in about 3-4 feet of concrete into the ground. Equalizer plates on them just in case. It was just, was able to get Don Dazzo, K4ZO. He sold me the plates, and he actually came out and did a little site survey. You know, if you're going to do something, you're putting up, I mean, that antenna is a lot of money. It's a couple $1,000, you know, after shipping and the tower and all that. It's worth. We had a deal. I ended up with an extra pole, and he's always looking for stuff like that. I gave him for that, and we called that a wash for coming out and doing a site survey. But he's not expensive for him to come out and take a look around and see what maybe some options are for you. And if you're going to go to that trouble to put up a tower and you want it done right, I think $50 is pretty reasonable to go have somebody, a professional that does this all the time, or come out and take a look around and tell you what your best bet would be. So K4ZO, Don Dazzo, he's local in the Charlotte area. You can look him up. He does work all over though. He's kind of a stickler for the details and directly by the book. So you might seem a little gruff, but I think that's kind of what you want in somebody like that. You want somebody paying attention to those type of details, and to kind of say, you know, no, this is how the rule is, and you know how this is done. This is probably the way you need to do that. So I'm okay with that. Some people, they don't like it as much. When I cleaned the desk up, I did the is it Lifix, Lifx, the LED strip lights along the back, as you can see the multicolors running behind me. I was a big fan of the Philips Hue. I'm sure you've seen some of the other videos I've done, like the ceiling in my living room. I can make that any color in the rainbow that I want, and the wall and all that, and the lights over the TV, the same deal. So I was a big fan of Philips Hue. The LED strips are not inexpensive, and these aren't either. But what I found with these, and I nicked this idea from TutVid. I don't know if you've watched his channel, but learned a lot on Photoshop and some other stuff. He does some pretty good tutorials. But I nicked the idea from that. He redid his office, and so I saw those. I said those are pretty cool. They're animated, and as you can see, you can segment these LED strips out and make multiple colors out of one strip. One little weird thing I noticed when you go to add an extension, if you do that after the fact, I actually sent an extension back because I thought it was broken, and I think it, after looking at it, I think it might have just been me. What you have to do, there's a reset button on like the controller. So it's pretty smart how they're able to do that. It looks really nice in here. It looks cool, and you know, hobby's kind of technical, so why not? And another thing I did cleaning up some of the cable runs is I had some bigger wire loom, so I ran all the other stuff in that. But the wire loom made it look a lot better install, and really cleaned some of the stuff up. Probably need to do a little bit more and zip tie some stuff for sideband and all that. I use the Heil PR40, probably the most transparent dynamic microphone I've run across, and especially at the price point, it's about half the price of an RE27. I like the response, and it's a good mic, and I've even used them at work. That goes into a 528E. Using it in a studio situation, you don't necessarily need any EQing, just a little bit of compression, but since I run that into the front of the radio, and that's my sideband setup, just to be able to tailor the audio so it's not real muffled and all that, and maybe add, you know, richen up the bass a little bit. But it goes through a 528E, so I got compression and 3-band parametric equalizer and some de-essing, which is always helpful. Then that goes back into the front of the radio with one of the Heil adapter cables from the XLR to the Icom 8-pin mic connector. That was an easy way to do it. I'm sure some of the purists and other hi-fi sideband guys will say, oh no, you need to come into the back port. Well, it works well for me, and when I do contesting, I generally use a Heil headset, the original Pro set with the HC5 in it. I haven't played with any of their newer ones. Maybe you have. Leave us a comment down there. Tell us what you think. I know some other people that have, and they love them. I just haven't. This is my third headset. I've had the other two. I have kept them for several years and sold them to the same guy who has bought both of them. So I think he's got 2 or 3 headsets down there, which is kind of handy. If something happens here, I can borrow one. I figured this one I might as well keep. Maybe one day I'll look at the others. So that is about it. The network side and all that on the other side of the room is still has a little bit of cleaning up to do, but that's for another day. I got a floor. I don't know how to act. Actually, a fair amount of room. And the wall of arrogance. That's what we call our the walls where you put all your awards. You can see all those. My 5-band DXCC plaque, my challenge plaque, which I'm very proud of, and the Worked All Stage Triple Play. Those were the big ones, and I got all the certificates for all my DXCC for every band. I've got 5-band DXCC. All I need is 12 meters, 30 meters, and 160, and I'll have DXCC on every other band below, from 10 meters down, so below 50 megahertz. So I'm pretty proud about that. Several WPX and my W1AW Worked All States. That was fun. When the second time I came through South Carolina, I was able to be W1AW Stroke 4, which is really cool. So, and I got the QSL card, so it's kind of cool to see QSL cards that list you as an operator. So that was a fun deal. I hope the ARRL does that again. It's great. There's a lot of activity on all the bands all the time, and a good way to rack up points for all that was the contest. Contest is a great way to rack up DXCC and WPX and all that. I guess I have won the section 2 years in a row for the IRUHF World Championship. So the first time that came in, I'm like, wow, it's the first time I've ever taken first place in a radio contest. So that was a neat deal. Another award I've gotten is the Worked All Zones. I guess I need to get off my duff and get the certificate or whatever they have for that. It's on LOTW. I need to figure out what I got to do to get the rest of that done. Well, that's pretty much it. Got the computer back here. You see that with HRD going. Then there's another 32-inch TV above it, which I can use as a secondary monitor or sit here and watch TV. I also have 2 clocks, one set to GMT and the other set to local. And those are all GPS synced, so they're always on time. M4 control box. I did, there was a kit modification, gives me remote control of the rotor. It comes out as RS-232, but a serial to USB adapter works just fine, and I'm able to use HRD rotor to remote control that, so I can just double click a guy and say, yeah, point at him, and it will turn the rotor for me, turn the antenna. So that's really cool. I think that was Easy Rotor, something. I don't think, maybe it's not Easy Rotor, somebody else, I can't remember. Idiom Press, that's what it was, Idiom Press. And I don't think they're in business anymore. I think I got an email from that guy, so he was looking to sell it. Took a while to get that kit, about a year. I did get it. I got it installed, and it works pretty well as long as you don't use the point and shoot on the front panel. Calibrate knob turns into like a point and shoot. You can turn it to the bearing and click the button, and it will turn. I found it would get out of calibration that way, but if you just use the paddles on the front or you just use the computer to do it, it works just fine. So that's pretty much the station. I'm thinking about doing more of these. If you know anybody, or if you'd like us to do a station tour with you, leave us a comment down below. I'm in the Carolinas. If you're a little far off, we might have to figure out a way to do that, but that's probably doable. So I was talking to some other people, and I think this might be a thing that we do here. Shack tours. I think it's kind of nice. You see, it gives you some ideas if you want to rework yours, or somebody new getting into the hobby. And I don't want to just look at everybody with blown out, huge setups and like that, because I don't think that's fair. I'd like to look at all, from the most modest setup to the biggest and greatest contest setup. I think that showcasing all of those types of setups is beneficial, especially to new hams. And so you don't, a lot of us have been in this for a long time, but I'm sure somebody new with just very modest, very simple setup would be proud to show off their shack. I know I would have been, and I was when I was younger and just new into this, would have loved to have done it. So it was always nice to do that. So I think we might be doing that, so be on the lookout. If you like what you see, give us a like. If you really like, hit the subscribe button down there. We really appreciate that. And if you really like it, go ahead and hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we upload videos. We try to do it a couple times a month. Sometimes life gets in the way. I don't really have a set schedule. We're getting more and more. So, and there's going to be some other stuff happening this summer, something we get outdoors. And don't forget, field days coming up very soon. If you're looking for a good multi-band single antenna that's resonant, you might want to check out either the ZS6BKW antenna up here, or there's also the modified version, which actually makes it a little bit shorter. And it's called the G0GSF, and that's right there as well. So both are great antennas. We talked to Brian, our G0GSF, his old call is ZS6BKW. A little interview with him. Fantastic guy. Couldn't be nicer. Was able to sit down with us on Skype. But in the G0GSF video, there's about a half hour of that conversation in there. So they're great antennas. They're resonant. You don't necessarily need a matchbox. And one feed, so if you're going to have one station, or if you're going to have a couple, you can build a couple of them. Field day's coming up. It's a great antenna for that. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for taking a view, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, my Lord. Oh man. What's that? Yeah. God, that's good. What? Let me turn this down. You want to do what? I want to tell you. I gotta edit this crap now. Yeah. All right. Bye.